Hey guys, I'm in here early this morning because I'm so excited about this word that God is going to pour into you today. There's a surge that we need in our life. Sometimes we just need a boost. We have been embraced with some storms. We have been embraced with the negative news on the media. But today, God gave me a word and I can't wait to share it with you. Get ready because it's time to get a boost. And that's what God is doing. He's allowing you to go through some hell and high waters in your life. He's allowing the storms of life to come at you. And you're saying that why is these things continue to happen? Why am I continue to have doors closed in my face? Why my children continue to act up? Why my relationships won't work? God said that I'm sending a surge your way. And it's time to get you back on track. See, the church, the building is going to open back up, but the church never closed. But what you're going to understand that God said that I'm leaving you out there long enough to see what you're going to be able to endure. But now he said, I want you to count it and count it all joy. I want you to go through life and I want you to say the mistakes that I made. I want you to lift your head up and say, God, I went through that because you was purging something out of me. I want you to go through life and I want you to tell somebody else your testimony. And you say, God brought me through this. God took me from that. And now God's saying that now everything that you went through was for such a time as this. People are going to look at your life as a testimony and they're going to say, I thank God for allowing you to go through what you went through. I hate that you had to go through all the struggles and the heartache, but because you went through, God is allowing me to come out. Y'all hear me this today? What you went through, God is allowing for me to come out. Because I look at your life and I say, God, look at what you did for them. And now watch this, the fourth verse. It says, but let patience have her perfect work. God, let patience have your perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire and enter, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be giving him. And see, watch this. When you read in the book of Genesis, the 5th chapter, you'll read that Joseph went through his storm. And it looked at his brothers was going to have accomplished their goal. They wanted to get rid of him. And they wanted to cast him away. They went back and lied to their father and say he was eaten by a bear or a lion. And he's no longer with us. But Joseph had to come back and he said that God allowed me to go through so that I can be a savior to all of my people. And if I had not went through the storms of life, if I had not went through that surge in my life, I would not be here to be a savior of the people. Sometimes in your life, you're looking at the struggles and you're saying that why are things happen to me? Why you ever heard the saying that why do good things happen to good people? And good things happen for bad people? No. Well, God is showing you that he's allowing you to go through the things that he's allowing you to go through so that when you come out, that you can be a help for somebody else. I want to take this moment and I want you to look at the life of an eagle. God, why did you style the eagles as the church? And when you look at the eagle, you'll see that the eagle is the only animal, the only bird that can fly directly toward the sun and not waver. And God said, I want to style you as the eagle. And now when you look at what takes place is that you'll see that this eagle now, he can detect when a storm is coming. And he's looking at when that storm is coming, and now he flies to the highest point that he can get to. And he's waiting for that storm to come. Sometimes in life, we got to anticipate that when things are going right, when we're continuing to pray and seek after God, that the storm is coming in our life. The enemy does not want you to prosper. He don't want you to be in good health. But then what happens is we're getting to a place where that now we have to anticipate that there's a storm coming. You don't have to sit back in your houses and in your quiet places and act like that everything is going good. I want to warn you today that there's a storm coming. coming. And now you got to anticipate. That's why I gave you the scenario of the weather radar. That weather radar is a wide surveillance that is looking at the storms that are building up out in the waters. And so then what happens is, instead of warning, I want you to get prepared. If you need a flashlight, I want you to go get a flashlight. If you need to buy some extra water, I need you to go buy some extra water. If you need some candles, I need you to get some candles, because there's a weather radar that is surveilling all of the area far beyond before it even gets to you. And just like that eagle, he's detecting that there's a storm coming way before that storm gets here. And now he's getting into preparation. And as he's getting into preparation, he's now flying to the highest point that he can get to. And he's waiting on that storm to come. I want you to do something today. I want you to get in position, and I want you to get prepared, because as the storm coming, there's something that you are about to do. As the storm is getting ready to take place, there's something that you are about to do. And now as that eagle is in that place waiting on that storm, when the storm comes, he spreads his wings and he rides directly into the storm. And what happens is that as that eagle is riding the storm, he flies above the storm. Now he has gotten over the storm. So when the storms come in your life, you're going to be able to ride the wave and climb above that storm. So now the eagle, because he was in preparation for what's coming, he gets above the storm. See, you can't get above the storms that are going to come in your life if you're not praying and you're not fasting. You can't get above the storm in your life if you're not in God's word. So then how can you be a Christian and say you love God and that you're not preparing for what's happening? And how do you prepare? You got to start seeking God's face. You got to get deeper into his word. I told you the Bible says deep calleth unto the deep. And now you're going to say, God, I'm getting myself ready for what's happened. I'm putting on my shield of faith. I'm getting my armor ready because I understand what's happening. So then when it happens, it's not catching me off guard. See, the people that are affected are the people who are not preparing. And I want you to do something today. I want you to start preparing for what's about to happen. And when you look at it, that's why the writer tells us in Isaiah 40:31, said, they that wait upon the Lord, he shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings of eagles. Why is he signifying this eagles? That eagle, the wings of eagles. Y'all listening to me today? The wings of eagles. So then now they that wait upon the Lord. So in your waiting moment, in your waiting season, in this waiting hour, I want you to start waiting upon the Lord. And you mount up on that wing of eagle. So as you're detecting that storm coming, you're going to find yourself getting ahead of this situation. You're going to find yourself in a place where you're going to say, that God, why is these things happening? And I want to share this with you today. That COVID wasn't an upset. It was a reset. It was getting us to reevaluate our lives. It was getting us to a place that God wanted to transform our way of thinking. Because we've gotten so accustomed to just say, oh, I'm going to do what I do, and then on Sunday I'm going to get my fix. And God had to close that chapter of your life, and he said that everything that you've been taught. I look at all the years that Bishop has been preaching a certain message, and all that message simply says, live, save, or die and go to hell. And when you get to this place in your life and you're saying that now I can't come to church and get into the prayer line, I can't get my quick fix, so now God is all or nothing. I'm going to live, save, or I'm going to die and go to hell. I know for some of us, you made mistakes in the midst of being quarantined, but God wanted to take our mistakes and use them and take us from our valleys and take us to our mountainous places. So just as that eagle is getting prepared, he's going to the top of that mountain. So the mistakes that you've made since the doors of the church been closed, because even myself, I made mistakes. And I'm saying that, God, the mistakes that I made, I'm not standing here today because I'm perfect or I never did anything wrong, but I'm standing here today because of my wrongdoing. Lord, you taught me from the errors of my ways. And people look at you and say, oh, Pastor Calvin, you're not perfect. No, I'm not perfect, but then I serve a perfect God that said that he wants to take my imperfections and he wants to take it and wrap it up in him, and he wants to cover me with the blood, and he wants to say, Father, he wants to make a propitiation for my sins, and he wants to go before the Lord. And he said, Lord, my son made a mistake, and he's sorry for the things that he did. Then the Lord will say, come back. And that's what I'm telling you today. The mistakes that you've made, God is now with his hands open wide, and he said, come back to me. You don't have to sit there and waddle in the things that you've done wrong. I know, yes, you messed up. I know you fell short. But now the arms are open, and God said, come back to me. See, all God did, he used COVID, not as an upset, but as a reset. To now look back and say that, Lord, no matter what it takes, I'm going to hold on, and I'm going to ride this altar. And today he's saying, come back. Even though you're embarrassed, people may talk about you, but remember this, they don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. And I say today, come back, because he's waiting. He's waiting to restore you. He's waiting to get you back, to get that joy back again. That's why he says, count it all joy when you fall into divers temptation. Yes, you drunk that wine, but now he's saying, come back. Yes, you fell short in that you did drugs again, and you said, Lord, if you deliver me from these drugs, I'll never do it again. But now it's time to reset. He said, come back. Yes, you may have slipped with that man or that woman, but now you ain't making those mistakes again, and that shame is on you. I know, because I've been there. But what God is saying now, come back. And if God did it for me, I'm telling you today, God would do the same for you. And I don't want you to sit there another day. All God did is he used the storms of our life, and he used that surge to just shock us back into reality. And today I want to leave you with this. As you wake up today, as you start your way, just say, Lord, thank you for giving me a reset. Lord, thank you for all the troubles that I had to experience on every side. Thank you for allowing them to come into my life. And Lord, you caused me to have a second chance. For some, it may be third, fourth, fifth, but he gave you another chance. And because of the chance that he's giving you, I want you now today to say, Lord, thank you for the surge. Thank you for the storms of life, because it's given me another opportunity to make it all right again. Oh, I'm so excited about today. This message is going to bless you. The enemy has robbed you long enough, but guess what? After today, it's time for you to take your territory back. So guys, get ready for this message, because it's going to bless you. I want you to do something today. It's time for you to raise up the banner. And watch this. And he says, and then that day there shall be a root of Jesse which shall stand for an ensign for the people. Now watch this. I'm going to go to Isaiah 18th chapter, and I want to read the third verse. And I'm almost done, but I want to give you this today. In the book of Isaiah, the 18th chapter, in the third verse, it says, all you inhabitants of the world and dwellers on the earth, see ye when he lifted up an ensign on the mountains, a sign, a standard. And when he bloweth the trumpet, hear ye. So when he says that I'm going to blow the trumpet, I want you to hear it. I want you to hear what is about to happen. Somebody today is about to sound the alarm. Somebody today is about to get to a place where they're going to realize that I no longer will sit back, but I'm going to stand. He said, I want you to stand, because this is going to be a sign for the people. All we need is somebody to make a difference. And if one person started, then everybody else is going to do the same thing. Watch this. Now, I want you to go with me to the book of Psalms, the 24th chapter. And I'm almost done. Psalms, the 24th chapter. Follow me here this morning, because I got something that's going to be good. It's going to change the way that you look at it. Watch this. Psalms 24:1. It says, The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. For he hath founded it upon the seas and established it upon the floods. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall stand in the holy place? He that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who hath not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully, he shall receive the blessings from the Lord and righteousness from God of his salvation. This is the generation of these that seek him and that seek the face, O Jacob. Selah, think about it. Watch this. He says, the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, and the world and they that dwell therein. God wants us to understand something today, that he's giving you the world. He's giving you that it's time now to reclaim our territory. It's time now to get back what God has in store for you. There's no way that you need to sit there another day and now allow the enemy to take what belongs to you. I want you to understand something. Back in the olden days, in the European army, when the European Royal Army would go into battle, they would send men that will hold up a banner before them. And when they would go into the army, and when they would go before the men of the army, they will ride before them and they will be holding up a flag, and that flag will be representing their country. And when they would go, they would now march around and they would show that this is who we represent. See, now it's time for the church to start standing up and saying that now it's time for me to hold up the banner. It's time for me to start representing the kingdom of God. And when they would go, and then they would go into battle, and they would show everybody that this is what we stand for. This is who we represent. And every time that they would go into battle, these men would ride before them and they would be holding up these signs or this flag or this flagpole or that banner. And all it did was represent what they believe in, who they are and what they stood for. You're going to go through life and you're going to say, why am I going through this? But God said, now it's time to hold up the banner. You're going to go through life and you're going to say, why am I going through these issues? Now it's time to hold up the banner. And what happened is when the European army would go and they would fight this battle, you'll find out what would take place. They would now, when they would win the battle, watch this. When they would win the battle, they would take that flagpole and they would put it in the ground, showing that now they have conquered the land. Church, it's time to wake up. God is giving you something. And what I want to do right now, I want to show you how it's time to raise the banner. I want to show you that you got to get up from where you at. God has a sign for all of his people, but what happens is we're so blinded that we're looking at everything else, but God's saying that, will you look at me today? We're saying that, will you look at me? God's saying that when you look at this sign everywhere in the Bible, watch this. When you read in the book where Paul was stranded on the island, and he told him, he said, if you look at this sign, none of you should perish. But everybody was so busy saying that, wait a minute, this is demonic, this can't be of God. But what happened is that what God does, he tries to get us to focus on something. Stop focusing on the problem. Stop focusing on the news. Stop focusing on what people tell you, but I need you to start looking at the banner. Watch this. When you look at what God has done, what he's saying is that everything in front of you, I want you to hold up this sign. I want people to see that as I put this on, and I'm saying that everybody that focus on me, I'm going to show them that I want to show them what is going to happen. Every time they see the things that are happening in their life, I want to show them how things are going to start working for them. Every time they get ready to go into war, I want them to see that every time they look at this sign, it's going to show them who I am. Every time that they come to going through issues in their life, they're going to say, why is this happening? Why is that happening? But he said, I want to show them because this is a sign. And as they look at this sign, they're going to see that now I'm going in because I have another kingdom that I'm representing. I'm going in because this is what God is showing me. Every time you look at that sign, when you walk into the bank, you're going to say, this is the sign that God has given me. This is the sign that I'm saying that I'm representing another kingdom. I will no longer go in and have my head down. I would no longer go in to walk in and say that I'm defeated because I am going to take over the land. Watch this. Everywhere in the Bible, you'll see that God gave us a sign. In the book of Genesis, God gave us a sign called the rainbow. And that rainbow was there that every time we look at it, it's a remembrance that God would not destroy the earth again. But now we allow the world to come in and we allow them to take something that God gave us, the promise that God gave us, and use it for something else. But now it's time for the church to stand up. You'll see in the music industry, you'll see that where now the church is so busy trying to be like the world. You listen at the sound now, everything has to mirror the world. But we don't pay attention until somebody in the world system come and start ministering godly songs or spiritual uplifting songs, and now we want to follow. It's time for the church to stand up. It's time to raise the banner. It's time for us to get God's attention and say, God, this is where I'm at. I hear a sound coming. I hear the sound getting ready to go forth, but now it's time to blow the trumpet. When you start blowing the trumpet, now it's saying that it's time for me to open my mouth. I hear a sound coming. I hear somebody getting ready to say, Lord, I'm tired of sitting back like this. I'm tired of going through that, but I hear a sound coming. And when you start hearing this sound, you're going to start hearing the earth shaking. You're going to start hearing trembling happen because there's a sound coming. When you read in the book of Joshua, when they was marching around the walls, and when they marched around the walls, then they made a sound. Watch this, fool. When they made that sound, see, I hear something playing right now. When they start making that sound, what happened is that the walls start coming down because everybody shouted, because everybody screamed, because they knew that God was in control. They held up a sign. Every time you look at this sign, you're going to say, Lord, I'm holding up the banner. Every time you're going to start going through something, you're going to say, I'm looking at the banner. Every time that you see yourself falling short, you're going to say, I'm looking at the banner, because this is where I am looking toward. God, you held up the banner because this is where it started from. It came from the church. It didn't start from the world. Everything developed from the church. And you'll see that we're going in places and we're saying that the enemy has the victory. No, it's time for you to reclaim your victory. It's time for you to get back what God has in store for you. Somebody need to put it in the comment section right now. I'm reclaiming my victory. And when I reclaim what God has in store for me, I'm reclaiming my victory. When I take back what God said, he said, now it's time to take the land back. Y'all hear me this today. It's time for you to take the land back. See, right here from the church, Bishop has been teaching us for years. And so now it's time for us to start looking out beyond. And I want you to look at the territory. And I want you to say, that's my house. Yeah, that's my car. Yeah, my children, they're coming back. Yes. Yeah, that business, that belongs to me. I want you to start taking it back. What happens is once you start reclaiming your victory, I want you to look out today. Look at everything that you've lost and say, I'm taking it back. I want you to look at everything that you lost. Say, I may have lost that battle, but the war is still going on. I'm taking it back. I want you to sit there and say, I've had some uphills and I've had some downward days, but I'm looking at, say it's time to take back. Will you do something today? Will you raise the standard? It's time for you to lift up your banner. And every time you go through a battle in your life, I want you to look at this sign. And I want you to say, that's my banner. I'm raising up the standard. When you walk onto that car lot, you're going to say, the battle has already been won. Raise the banner. When it's time to get that new house, no matter what the price is, raise the banner. See, what happened is that there's a revival that's getting ready to start. Miracles are taking place from right here. And so every time you look at what is happening, you're going to look at this banner and you're going to say it started from here. People are going to be like, how did you go through that? How did you get through that? And you say, come follow me. Let me show you the land that God has given me. Let me show you the territory that I am taking over, because God promised me the land. And as God promised me the land, say it starts right from here. Say, follow me to God's house. Follow me to the church house, because this is where it all started. God said, I'm giving you your territory back. What happened is that now miracles going to be birthed, and people are going to be coming from far and near because they said it starts from the church. I want you to lift up your banner right now. In your cars, lift up your banner. In your homes, I want you to lift up your banners. On your jobs, I want you to lift up your banners. And I want you to say, like this cross, this is where it's going to say X marks the spot. Every time you plant your foot down, you go say, this is what God given me. X marks the spot. I won't leave here because God promised me this land. X marks the spot. When you walk onto that job, you say, this job is mine. X marks the spot. I know I may not be as qualified. I know other contenders have been there before me, but God promised me this job. X marks the spot. Raise your banner today. As you raise that banner, somebody's going to look at you. Somebody's going to say, where did you get that kind of faith from? Why do you speak things into an existence and it's happened? The Bible says we got to call those things to be not as though they were. Church, it's time to raise your banner. You hear what I'm telling you? It's time to raise your banner. Look back what God has brought you from. Look at all the things that he's brought you through. It's time to raise your banner, and every time you feel weary, I want you to understand something, that you're representing something bigger than you. Look at the sign. Look at what God did. He died on this cross for you. He had hands, he had nails in his hands and in his feet, and he got pierced in his side. That's the banner. Every time we look at it, we got to say that Christ died for me. I can't lose. I can't lose. Raise your banner. Where are the strong people at today? It's time to raise your banner, and now I want you to do this with me today. I want you to look back over your life and to see how far God has brought you. And now I want you to say, everywhere that my foot tread, everywhere that God has given me, I'm raising the banner. When I go to the north, I'm raising the banner. When I go to the east, I'm raising the banner. When I go into this city, I'm raising the banner. When I go into that city, I'm raising the banner. Everywhere that my foot treads, it belongs to me. Somebody raise your banner today and allow God to take authority over your life. Raise the banner and allow God to take control of everything in your life. Raise the banner because somebody needs to see you win a victory. You've been in this war too long and you've been losing the war, but now you understand that it's time to raise your banner. Watch what God do. God is giving you your land back. God is giving you the victory back. And now as you look at what God has done, God is saying that the earth is yours and it belongs to you. Somebody grab hold to Psalms 24:1. The earth is yours. Come on, it's yours, it's yours, it's yours. And I need somebody today to raise your banner. Oh my gosh. It is Sunday morning, guys, and I'm so excited we got to get in here. I want you to tune in at just a few moments because this message is going to bless you. God told me as long as it takes, I want you to hold on because there's a blessing coming your way. Guys, get ready because there's a word that's going to change your life. Come on. Told about this story, and I'm going to share it to you. I read this story, and it was a father and a son. They went on a trip, a fishing trip. And as they went on this fishing trip, the storm came upon them and the wind started raging, and they was in this little small boat. And as they were in the boat, the father tells his son to hold on. No matter how bad it gets, hold on. And what happened is the storm got so bad, it capsized the boat, tore the boat up into pieces. So now the father sees a buoy a little ways up in the water. He tells his little son, he said, come swim with me, but don't give up. And the son, they follow him and they get to the buoy and they're holding on with dear life. The father realized something. He says, we're in the middle of nowhere. Nobody knows where we're at. And if we stay here, we're going to end up dead because we won't be able to hold on much longer. And this is going to bless somebody today. So the father looks at his son and he said, I want you to hold on. as long as it takes. He said, as me being your father, I'm going to do everything in my power to be here for you. He said, I want you to stay right here. I'm going to swim to this land. I know you won't be able to make it if you come with me, but I want you to hold on to this buoy. And I want you to stay here. And I promise you, I'll be back. But I want you to hold on as long as it takes. The father now, he swims and hours pass. Hours pass. And he finally makes it to land. Tired, exhausted, dehydrated. People come and they pick him up off the banks of the sand, and he said, I need to get to the Coast Guard. They rush him to the Coast Guard, and now by this time the storm was in full effect. And he pleads with the Coast Guard. He said, please, can you go with me? I need to save my son. Coast Guard hesitated and said, you know, the weather's too bad. And the father looks at the Coast Guard and he said, what if it was your son out there? Please, whatever you can do, take me so I can save my son. Reluctantly, the Coast Guard says, okay. They get out there on the water and they ride and they ride and they ride. And they finally come up until the marker where the father realized that where he left his son. And when he gets back to the spot, no son. And the Coast Guard captain looks at him and said he didn't make it. And the father, out of desperation, he said, no, that can't be it. I gave my son a word and I told him to hold on no matter how long it takes. And he said, I see another buoy up there. Can you take me there? But by this time the waves was raging and the boat was rocking from side to side. And he looks at him and he said, sir, please help me. I got to save my son. So reluctantly, once again, the captain now, he moves the boat in position to go to the other buoy. And when they get up close to the buoy, the winds was tossing that buoy to and fro, and the boat was spinning round and around and around because the storm was so strong. And the captain of the Coast Guard looks at the father. He said, he's not here. We're going to have to go back in because it's too dangerous. Your son is nowhere in sight. And just as they was getting ready to move, there was a hand that comes up on the backside of the buoy. And the little boy was still there. The Coast Guard rushes and they pulls him into the boat. And the captain looks at him. He says, after all of this time, he said, how did you make it? He said, my father looked at me before he left. And he says, no matter what, as long as it takes, I don't want you to let go. And that's a word for somebody today. No matter how long it takes, no matter what storms are raging in your life, you got to hold on. You got to not let go. See, when we read in the story about the Bible, when Jacob wrestled with the angels, he said, I won't let you go until you bless me. And the captain in amazement says, that was some type of endurance. But that little boy held on to the word of his father. He says, no matter what, as long as it takes, don't give up. And I want you to understand this today. And it brings me to the text today. And I want to start reading in the book of Job. And I'm going to start in the book of Job, the first chapter in the 13th verse. And when we look at the life of Job, we'll see the things that he had to endure in his life. In the 13th verse, Job 1 and 13, it says, and there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding beside them. 15th verse. And the Sabaeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I am escaped alone to tell thee. And at the same moment while he was speaking, there also came another and said, the fire of God is falling from heaven and have burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I escaped to tell thee. And in the same moment while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I escaped to tell thee. Man. And while he was yet speaking, there also came another and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the 4 corners of the house. And it fell upon the young men, and they are all dead. They are all dead. Your sons and your daughters eating and drinking in the eldest brother's house. The 4 corners of the wind came and they fell upon the house, and now they are all dead. And I escaped to tell thee. Now what Job does, he arises, he rents his clothes, he falls to the ground and shaves his head, and he worships. Can you imagine going through trials and struggles in your life? Your livestock is gone. All of your earthly possessions is gone. And now they get to this place and they tell Job all of these things, one after the next and the next after the next. And this one came after that one, and this one told him this one, to end up to say, when it's all said and done, your whole family is gone. Job now gets to this place where he falls to the ground, he shaves his head, and he starts worshiping. In the midst of the darkest hour of your night, you're sitting there and you're going to tell God, I'm going to worship you. In the midst of the wee hours of the night when the pain is inflicting your body, but you still go worship God. I told you, when all else is gone, you still got to hold on to the words of your Father when he says that I want you to never give up, because there's something greater coming. Job falls down and he worships, and he says these words, and it's so profound. Some of you may know the story of Job, but I want to give it to you in a little twist. And he said, naked came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And in all of this, Job said not, and he didn't charge God foolishness. So when you go through issues, trials, and struggles in your life, you got to remind yourself that the same God that gave it is the same God that taketh away. When you understand that why God gave it to you, he gave it to you for a purpose, but he only gave it to you for a season. And when you understand that in this trial and this struggles, Job issues wasn't over yet. Turn with me to the book of Job, the 19th chapter. And watch this. In the book of Job, the 19th chapter. And I'm going to start reading at the 26th verse. And it says, and though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see God. The 27th verse. Whom I shall see from myself, and my eyes shall behold, and not another, though my reins be consumed within me. I mean, these had to be sad words. Job said, and though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh I will see God. You got to see God in the midst of everything that you're going through. When doors are closing in your face, you got to see God. When people turn their back on you, you got to see God. You've lost everything, you still got to see God. Job said that my heart is aching. The pain is raging in my body. My flesh is tearing me apart, but I still see God. He said, if I die, Lord, I know I'm going to see you, because he said, I charge not God in this pain that I'm going through. He said, God, I'm not blaming you for what I'm going through, because naked did I come into this world, but naked shall I leave this world. See, you got to understand, when all hope is gone, when you get into the place where you're saying that, Lord, why is this happening and why is that happening? You got to say, Lord, blessed be the name of the Lord. Job didn't charge God foolishly, because he remembered that when I came into this world, I had nothing, and when I leave this world, I'm not going to take nothing with me. Imagine what Job went through. One servant tells him, your sheep are gone. Another one come and said that all your servants is dead. Another one said these hoodlums, this gang come and they done stole all of your camels. Then this one comes and say, your family is dead. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do as you sit there and you're saying, God, why is these things happening to me, one thing after the next? When you look at the story of this little boy sitting in this water as his father goes and tries to swim and get help, and he's sitting there and he's saying that my father gave me a word, and my father told me to hold on as long as it takes. I'm going to hold on and I'm not going to let go. When you read in the story about Job, and he saw that there was an opportunity for him to get blessed, because he'd been waiting for God to come into his life. He had been waiting. He thought he was an outcast. Remember, he was the same one that deceived his brother. He was the same one that stole his brother's birthright, but he saw an opportunity. And the one thing he said, I won't let you go until you bless me. Today, somebody got to hold on to that word. Whatever God has promised you, whatever God has told you, you got to hold on. And you said that as long as it takes, if it takes me sitting here in this plate of destitute for 6 months, I'm going to sit here and wait. If it takes for me to sit here for 6 years, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait. But if it takes, God, if you never come, Lord, I'm still going to wait, because I know what you promised me. I know what you told me, but Lord, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait. But the father told his son this word. He says, son, I'm going to leave you right here. And as you are sitting here, I want you to understand this. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that I save your life. It's going to get lonely sometime while I'm gone. The waves are going to rage and they're going to toss you to and fro, but I want you to hold on. Fear going to try to step in. Defeat is going to try to step in. Faintness is going to try to step in. But I want you to listen to the words that I'm telling you. I want you to hold on. I can imagine Job when he had that encounter with that angel. Fatigue tried to set in. And as he was sitting there, the angel said, I got to get back to heaven. The day is coming. Daybreak is coming. But Job said these words. He said, I won't let you go until you bless me. Sometimes we give up too quick. We're ready to throw in the towel. But there's something that God has given us that's deep on the inside of us. Something that we had to fight for all of our life. Something that we had to struggle with. And God said that I want you to use that same tenacity, that same fight that you had when you had to go to school and you had to make sure that you defended yourself. That same fight that you had to get when you didn't have food on the table and you said that I'm going to make sure that I feed these kids. That same fight that you had to endure when all hope was gone. God said that's the same fight that I want you to deal with. Because he's trying to teach us something. I want you to put it in the comment section. I want you to take this and I want you to go through the rest of the week. I want you to say this with me. No matter what, as long as it takes, I'm going to still trust God.
For God so loved the world, all of us, you and me. He loved us so much he sent his only Son, Jesus, the firstborn of creation, sent to take our place, to bear our burden, to suffer our consequence. We were far from God, but God didn't want to be far from us. Jesus came to bring us home. As a prodigal returns to their father, so too could we return to our Creator. A simple plan with just one requirement. Belief. For whosoever believes in him will not perish, but will have life. Life eternal. At the very heart of God is love. Indescribable, unrelenting, unstoppable love. That love shines a light, guiding us home. For God so loved the world.
All right, prayer. All earthly things with earth will fade away, but prayer grasps eternity. But I'm convinced of this: God does not hear prayer. He hears desperate prayer. Prayer is not a position whether you're in the east. Prayer is not a position, it's a disposition. You get to the place where you'd rather sweat, you'd rather weep in his presence than laugh in anybody else's presence. You'd rather God whisper a secret into your heart that breaks you than somebody give you the prizes that all the world covets. Prayer is almost the greatest human privilege that we have.